Your host, Dr. Farah Laurent, and today I have Jennifer, and we're going to be
Yes.
talking about all things networking for nurses and building a brand. So, thank you. Welcome to, is this your first LinkedIn Live?
Oh man, very first. I didn't even know we could do this.
Yeah,
This is
and we're
exciting.
also live on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. So, shout out to everybody. So,
That's
tell
awesome.
people what you do because
Mhm, mhm.
Jennifer is a former ER nurse turned entrepreneur and she is killing it in the game. So tell the people what you do, who you are, what your business is.
Yes. So I was the classic student nurse that sucked at school, like terrible grades, and just was like trying to get by. And then got into ER ICU critical care nursing now like 17 years or something. However, when I was about 6 or 7 years into the ER, I started realizing that because of my ADHD and dyslexia, my really bad test taking skills, I learned like a lot of these medical concepts differently. So I was like, I just want to put the way I teach it on paper. So I taught myself graphic design and I started creating content by books and I started building content for my fellow nurses essentially. And then that ended up now like 250,000 books later, we have an app, we have a video series. It just really blossomed into something I never saw coming. I definitely accredit a lot of that to the fact that the business was built truly for all the students with their mindset of how to get them to learn and retain information without just reading a textbook because of how much my struggle was. So if I could lessen other people's struggle, then that is amazing. And so it was never a business to be like, I want to start a business. I didn't even know what the heck I was doing. I'm an ER nurse, ICU nurse. And so then I learned by fire and it then, yeah, flourished into a medical education company and it's super exciting.
And tell the people how they can connect with you and what's the name again of the company.
Yeah, so it's RecMed. So my last name is Zohoric, and the last three letters of my last name are REK. So that's kind of how I came up with it. But RecMed, we have our website. We actually are about to launch a new website completely, which is exciting. Yeah, this is the first time I even talked about it. So we will be having, say it, RecMed Academy coming soon. But then we also are on Instagram as Student Nurse Planner because at first we started with a planner and now we're pretty much just all activity books. We're on like all major channels and then Jen RecMed on TikTok as well. So yeah.
Listen, you guys don't know, like this one over here is a badass
Oh, look who's talking.
ER nurse and entrepreneur. And she just failed to mention it, but this one over here, within her first year of business, right?
Oh,
It's seven figures. I don't know if you guys heard that.
crazy.
Right? That is some like
Yeah, it's wild.
astonishing, right? And this is why I love you. And we talked last time for about an hour and a half on a Zoom talking about business and how everything got started and each
Yep.
other in our journey. And I
Yeah.
think it's important for us to share and to be on social and media to share with other nursing students, other new grads, other nurses that are struggling,
Mhm.
wanting to find their way. And that's the beauty of our profession. There's so much that we can do. And I know there's a lot of nurses out there who are not currently happy, not
Mhm.
feeling fulfilled, or feeling that there's a gap or something is missing. But you've created your own way. And I'm so proud of you,
Oh,
right? And this is what we need to do for each other is like help guide.
mhm.
And I love that you're helping nursing students because that's something I'm really passionate about as well.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, just wanted to say,
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it takes one to know one because look at what you're building and doing. So that's for sure. I mean, this is also why we're like new besties for sure.
I know we're new besties,
Yeah.
and I haven't announced it, but if you're okay with it, I'm gonna
Mhm.
announce it now
Yes.
because if you have been following me, you know that I did my first conference in March of this year, and the next one's gonna happen March 6th and 7th, 2026. And of course, I invited Jennifer to be a speaker, and
Yay.
she accepted. So I'm just dropping it now, dropping the tea. She will be in Tampa, Florida as a speaker, and she's going to talk about her journey into nursing and
Yeah.
her journey into business with now this company that she's acquired and growing, right? And the ENA, can you talk about the ENA, how the ENA reached out to you, the Emergency Nurses Association?
Yeah.
And when we talk about branding
Mhm.
and networking, personal branding and networking,
Mhm.
and visibility being on social, this is what it does. So tell them the story about the ENA.
Yeah, it's not too crazy, but really it is like exactly what you're saying. Social media is what puts you out there in general. I have always enjoyed doing educational videos, but I've been kind of the person that like I'm not into doing the same like reels and like funny things that are there. And it's not because I don't want to have like fun on social. It's more of just how can I teach stuff that's engaging but different because so many people are just putting education out there and I want it to be unique. And so the other hand in hand with that is kind of telling people my story because I think when you get on social, you feel so exposed and vulnerable. And
Mhm.
it's nerve wracking at first. And I definitely have that classic, like, well, why would people listen to me? Like, even though I've created the things I've created and got it to this level I didn't see coming, I still have these times where I'm like, why do people care what I have to say? And that's always going to happen. And I think it's so easy to just kind of like doubt yourself at times. But anyway, so I started creating this content, just sitting there being like, how can I make it the most fun? And then also letting people know, like, I have dyslexia, I have ADHD, I do not learn. I'm not a good test taker. I'll scream that to the mountains. I'm not the textbook smart girl at all. But does that mean I'm not smart? No, I'm just smart in a different way. And so then I think by putting that story on TikTok too, that's when the ENA reached out to us and we're like, hey, we have this new grad program and we do need books to go with it. And so the workbook that we have is definitely up their alley because they wanted to engage with their new grads and really teach them along. So then we kind of built a relationship up from there. And then we now make their workbooks. I think it's like literally right behind me. So they have some customized pages in it. And then that way they can also, their preceptors, they have stuff for the preceptors to fill out about them. And then also their own like ENA stuff is included on here.
Show them again. Show them again.
So it's super exciting. So it's for their new grad residency program that they have going on.
And
So
she has done all these graphics. Look how beautiful.
yeah, it's 300 beautiful pages. But yeah, so it's very exciting. And I think it goes also what you were saying earlier, it really strikes me because I think with nursing in general and medical is we like, it's almost like, I don't know if you did this. I feel like you're already doing this when you first start, you're very much like, oh, when I become a nurse, I'm going to be fulfilled. And then you become a nurse, you're like, oh no. Now, if I go to the ICU, maybe I'll be fulfilled. If I go to the ER, I'll be fulfilled. And then you get there and you're like, yeah, no, this is enough. And then you're like, if I become an MP, I'll be fulfilled. And then in Farah's case, she's like, if I get my doctorate, I'll be fulfilled. And then she's like, no, now I have to be an entrepreneur and do a million things. And so I think we're constantly feeling we're high performers in this kind of like field. Yep. And so because of that, even like for myself, it's interesting because even though RecMed has been doing what's doing and it's so great, there's times I catch myself being like, well, no business really lasts forever. And not that this won't last forever. It's more of just like, what else can I do in addition or other than eventually, not anytime soon, but eventually. So I catch myself going into that loophole too. So I think with that, it's hard because there's so much noise of like, well, do I need to work here and do I need to go there? But also you think the next thing will fulfill you only to find out that you're honestly kind of almost a never ending journey, but sometimes you feel stuck and then need someone like you also to help, you know? So it's interesting.
Yeah, this is great. Honestly, I think this is, like I said, the beauty of our profession. You know, me as a nurse career coach, I mean, the way that my coaching started was through my own desire to help the younger me, like, right?
Yeah.
And this is when your business started. And
Yeah.
I would say the majority of like fulfilling type businesses start because you're like, I'm like, I didn't have a nurse career coach when I started. I wish I had one. So let me create it for the next generation.
Right.
You didn't have the proper study guides or planners that you like. So you're like, you know what? Let me create my own.
Yep.
I think this is how nurse entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs are kind of built because we're looking for something that's not there and we want to create it or create our own path.
Yeah.
And then really fulfillment, I think, comes from serving others.
Yeah.
Okay, so as nurses, the foundation of our profession is helping and serving others, but we get bored easily as
Yeah.
nurses, especially ER nurses, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, it's almost like serving others you think is your patients, but can also be your fellow coworker. You know what I mean? It's just serving
Yeah.
in like a different way. And I would think about that, like instead of taking care of my patients on shift, now I get like the honor to be able to help other students learn so they can help their patients, which is really cool and took, a
Right.
really long time of years and experience to get there. But
And this is why I'm so happy that we've connected and that you're going to be speaking at the conference
well, wait.
and that we're going to hopefully create, keep doing content like this for nursing students, new grads, or other nurses looking to go into business or whatever.
Yeah.
Because if we're really, I always talk about nurses need to be in the media more so we can expand not only the public's perception of what we do and the various things we do, but also helping each other, like you said, figure out what's next because
Yep.
you don't have to feel stuck. And also sharing our stories of, struggle, challenges, and things like that. Because nursing is not linear. You're going to have, ups and downs. But truly, your success, and I think also my success from building that personal brand, if we could talk a little bit about that, because most nurses are like, what are you talking about personal brand? Like, I'm just working.
Yeah.
But we need to see yourself as a brand and as a business. Even if you don't intend to start an actual business, you need to start thinking like an entrepreneur in terms of how to make more money. Because I talk about money moves all day, every day.
Yeah.
Business moves, because you have to think about yourself as a business. Without nurses, there is no healthcare. However, we're here and a lot of us are struggling because we're not fulfilled because we're not getting paid our worth.
Right.
So you have to learn how to personal brand yourself and also network.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on, I know it was hard to get out there in the beginning of like building this personal brand. And what did you find, that helped you?
To really touch on that too, what you're saying, I think is so interesting. It's like a light bulb went off in my head because if you think about it, if you have a newer nurse or a nurse that's like just getting started, not even necessarily a student, maybe a new grad, or you could be a student and a new grad too. We have this like perception that just because we're new to something, like why would we want, like we feel like we haven't established a personal brand because we're so new that we don't have, so like our competence over time is what gives us the confidence. Well, if we don't even have confidence in something yet, like even as a student or as a new grad or whatever, we feel not confident about what we're about to like teach or show the world, right? So if you kind of like reverse that one, think about this is when I started my business and I started going on TikTok, I had a video, I was 1 year in to the business and I basically made this video. I think it's like pinned. It's like my top video. And I was basically like, I was a person that struggled with ADHD dyslexia. So I taught myself graphic design and I created a book to help other people learn. That video did like 9 million views, I think something like that, because everyone was like, oh my gosh, this story is like crazy because you went to nursing and switched to business. But here's the thing. 1 year into business, I knew nothing. I don't know anything about business. So I was new to it.
About when you started. What year was 2019?
2019. Yeah. So I, along with maybe one or two, about 2 to 3 other bigger people in like fields were like the initial start of getting new content beyond like Wolters Kluwer's and all that stuff. So I would say there's probably like 5 of us that are kind of like the initial starters around this phase that were like providing
OGs.
Yeah. Or provide resources. Yeah. Cause there's a lot of resources now out there. And I think that's great. But what's kind of different for us is we're not notes, we're not bullet points. We're literally activities that are created in a different way to make you retain the information instead of just reading the info.
And apply it.
Yes. But back to the whole thing is like my business journey, I would always have a goal, like every year, a milestone. Every single year, I'd always create like a personal brand TikTok and be like, we're 2 years old this year, but I'd be like, happy 2nd birthday, Rachmed. And I'd tell the story. And that was kind of the thing is like with COVID, God, things were so uncertain. I didn't get shipments. I didn't have product. We had a paper shortage. There were so many downs about it, but I showed that. But it's really the journey and the story is what people care about more. Like the monetization and things that we've achieved, that's cool, but I could give a crap about how much money we've made. The work and the journey to that is where all of it's like really been what's been rewarding. Seeing those challenges and overcoming it. So when it comes back to personal brand, just because you haven't established yourself yet doesn't mean your personal brand can't develop with you and that journey and that story, because that's what people want to see, because you always are going to have somebody like 4 years behind you that want to do the same thing, but they're watching your whole thing being like, oh my God, well, she did it, I can do it, you know?
Exactly.
So yeah, so personal brand can happen at any stage. I think.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't really know what personal branding is. And it's been this buzzword for the last, like, I'd say probably 4 or 5 years that people are paying attention to it. But really, essentially, is like you said, it's like really telling the world your story, being authentic and transparent without having to like put all your business out there. Because some people think like, oh, I have to tell everything about my life. You don't. Really, essentially, it's like, what is your origin story? What impact do you want to make? What's your purpose?
Mhm.
Why did you start where you started? And like dropping what is important to you, which is like I said, originally, what's the impact? What values do you hold true? And what do you want to stand for? Right.
Right.
So it's, yes, it's like really a big picture personal brand. But when people think personal brand, particularly in business, they think like, oh, I need a logo. Oh, I need a website. Oh, I
Yeah.
need to, like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's part of it and the
You're so
colors,
right.
but the foundation is
Mhm.
always the story.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you doing or what do you want to do? You know, what is it taking you to? And it's interesting. Like there's a nurse creator I know that does an amazing job. She created something close to ours, but she's very luxury driven. And it's really cool because her audience just loves like the luxury she's doing. Like when she does all her facial stuff and all that stuff.
Mhm.
I love a facial, but I by no means want to like go film myself getting a facial. And like that's the thing though, is because there's a world out there that they want that. And then there's a world out there that's like they don't really give a crap what I'm doing personally. They just want me to teach them something. So there's
Exactly.
that too. You know what I mean? So like you can't do it wrong, I guess is what I'm saying. So like
Yeah.
even if you
Yeah.
feel like you need to show like more of like showing more authentic parts of you is always going to be the answer. And some people are going to love your authenticity and other people, they're like, nope, not for me. And that's okay. Cause you don't want those people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not the right audience for you.
Mhm.
And, literally, I just had this business mastermind literally over this weekend. And I had nurses from, different states, different backgrounds came through because they either want to build their business, like build their personal brand, learn about marketing, business basics, right?
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things that always comes up is like their fear, number one, to show up on
Mm.
camera or on social, like
Yeah.
how hesitant they are. And one answer to that is when you step back, like you said, and think about the purpose, like the reason you're doing it, like you take yourself out of it because it becomes your purpose. It's bigger than you. So
Yeah.
that's what I was trying to like, get them to realize. Like,
Yep.
shout out to one of them, Dr. Tina Marie. Her business is called My Lady Business, and she helps women of color feel like themselves again through hormone therapy, like education and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
like nobody does what you do.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a target audience, and I'm like, they need you.
Yeah.
So show up
Yeah.
for them. So this is when people get hesitant to show up on social.
Mhm.
I think if they could just tie it to their purpose and impact, they'll be like, well, I got to go on today because I got to teach or I got to do this or I got to help my people.
Right.
And then you're like, who cares what I look like or whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's one part. And the second part is like for all the novice entrepreneurs or like the people just trying to get in, they're like, well, how much do I charge? And are people actually going to pay it?
Mhm.
It's this self worth doubt Like you said, are people going to watch my videos? Are
Yeah.
people going to care? Are they going to want to pay me for my services or my product? And I think we need to get over that piece if we want to be sustainable in business, right? Like depending
Right.
on what it is that you're doing. So I
Right.
don't know if you found difficulty with like the pricing part or the
Yeah.
business aspect.
Yeah, I think that's kind of, again, like, it goes back to like the story and the journey. Like, I remember my very first planner I put out back in 2019, but way before COVID. Well, not way before, but before COVID hit.
Yeah.
And so, we had the ecom boom and prices went crazy in all kinds of ways. But that was one of the hardest things for me because I was like, I have all this content in the back of this planner, and it took me 2 years to make my first book, literally. And I stayed up all night because of the night shift. I'd work on it all night. And I remember thinking, like, well, I need to, a planner itself, a luxury planner, like an Erin Condren planner, was like 65. But I was like, but I'm talking about nursing students. And I went in this whole thing of like, how do I price this? And so then I priced it, I think it was like back then, like $49.99, but I included shears or hemostats and a pen, I think in shears at the time. It was like I wanted it to be a whole like unboxing gift set kind of thing. And I remember wanting to always be reasonable in my pricing for students, essentially. Well, then we started integrating more things into our shop, and that was like syringe highlighters and paper clips and all this other stuff. And so we started noticing then those add-ons like really added up in value, which is great. And then we started noticing that like shipping was so important to people and expensive for us. And so we then we're like, well, what's interesting, if we move it this way to help offset our shipping costs, but also like make a good enough margin to keep operating, we actually notice more people would buy at this price point than they did at the other price point. That is data that you're going to find along the way. So even if you don't have the answer today, that doesn't matter. Your audience or your customer or your person is going to tell you basically like what it is. So even if you start out like more entry level, like for like coaching and things you're saying, or building that brand or offering something, you can always like use ChatGPT or things and help value what it is, that product service you're doing. But I think at the end of the day, people are going to help you self-calibrate. If you have a lot of people because they're like, wow, I'm getting, like, making them an offer they can't say no to is essentially what is like the golden rule of business, of having so much value. They're like, I'd be an idiot to not buy that because of like how much good is coming. But at the same time, if you want higher level, high ticket sales, one, how do you make sure you are bringing your worth up to that too? But at the same time, like, one, you don't know until you try. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, then you're going to have to recalibrate too. And so that is like sort of that journey, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing that I love all the stuff that you shared is like, you also don't want to undervalue yourself, give too much value where you're not even making a profit in business, and able to like sustain the business, right?
Yes.
And I think as nurses, we're always trying to give a discount, always trying to help somebody. And I'm like, stop. Like,
Yep.
You're giving value, so charge for it.
Yes.
Something like negotiating your salaries and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, definitely. And the market moves. Like, that's the other thing. Like, we have, oh my God, I lost my train of thought. We have those things that make the values go up and down too. Like, if you think of what Amazon did to businesses because of making everything fast and cheap. And then we have TikTok Shop, where that's what I was going to say, is that TikTok Shop, the people on TikTok, they want to buy things. It's the new way to buy. But at the same time, that customer has been so programmed that you should be getting discounts and coupons and like looking for deals. Like, TikTok is for deals essentially. And so that's the thing too, is like knowing where you can do that kind of stuff. So if you're like, you know what, like, I need to put my personal brand on TikTok, but I am not discounting my stuff, then you have to figure out how to funnel them off of it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of hard. It's like markets move, and you have to like, it's definitely like ebbs and flows, but
you got to figure out your audience too. Like, even with content, like building your personal brand, one of the easiest ways to do it. Yes, you can network in person, which is great. But then honestly, the best way to build that personal brand is to create a digital footprint. So whether you're creating content, writing articles, being featured in magazines and things like that, that's important because when people Google you, they want to be able to see who you are. Are you credible? Where have you been? Right. So, like the 7-11-4 rule of Google, like, is that marketing rule. People need to see you very often before they can be able to trust you and be
Yeah.
able to buy your product or service. The only way you're going to do that is showing up consistently. And I don't think nurses understand that, right? They're like, well, and I used to lead with this all the time. Like, well, I have 6 board certifications, I have a DMP, I have this and that. I'm like, your customers don't really care to a point. They want to know how you can serve them and what value you can give them. Trust and believe they will look you up. And that's the piece you have to build behind the scenes of building that personal brand, of like doing that. So, like, I know you were featured in a couple of things. Did people reach out to you because you were creating content?
Yeah, I think so. Going with what you said too, I've always learned with our marketing teams that like they say it's like you have to be in front of someone 3 to 7 times until they actually trust you. But
Right.
that's like literally just like being in front of them. It's not even like say like you like it's kind of crazy with psychiatry. Like you could be saying something that's not even like it's very unhinged, but if you say it 7 times, they'll start being like, well, they'll think about it because they're starting to process that you are becoming an expert at that because you keep popping up in front of them. So,
Right.
but yeah, with the reaching out to, so we back in the day had a girl that did some of our PR stuff initially, and it was very like not like a pay on result kind of thing. It was kind of like a really low fee, and she was just getting started in PR world, and she was like, I just want to like blast you onto this platform. Well, then she ended up, we just was like, this isn't really like worth it for us as a monetary fact. So we stopped. A month later, Business Insider was like, oh my God, we see your story and we want to do an interview on you. And I was like, what?
How
So
did I see your story though? Through your
through social. Yeah, through social media. And
Okay.
then I don't know if it's also like some of the stuff that she had put in the PR, if it ever got across to their desk. Yeah. But it was interesting how that kind of happened. But then that was really great because it's like you're saying after that interview or article with Business Insider, and they like validated everything, which is I think really respectful of them. I had to prove and even send them money to show that like the
Mm.
result I was doing was actually a real thing, because they were like, we don't want to just say you're making all this money and it's like totally not valid. I thought that was really great. But again, like people focus on monetary stuff all the time, and people don't realize when you're the founder, entrepreneur, creator, like half of that stuff doesn't matter. It's like, do you know what it took to get there? That's what matters. And so I think that, you know, that, and it's building, it goes back to the confidence I get is because of that competence I had to establish essentially.
Right.
But
And
then,
building that trust because and
yeah,
credibility, because the more people see you, they hear your story, they can connect with you.
yeah.
And like, did that help you
Yes, that helped a lot.
increase sales?
Yeah. That article kind of was insane. I know it was triple million views in some regards. And I would have people that I haven't talked to in probably 15 years that were like, I was scrolling on my toilet and you popped up. I was like, that's pretty funny. So, and then I had a lot of people reach out. But it goes back to exactly what you're saying is that then was a link that linked back to my name. And then that also went through like SEO in a certain way and it proved the credibility, just like you're saying. And then after that, there was like a few more things. So now even things like TikTok, like when it used to be like really matter to people about getting verified, even social channels wouldn't verify you unless you had links like that were showing you're a person in the community. And
Mm.
so, yeah, it's kind
Like
of
links, like you're talking about being featured and
yes. So you would send them that as part of the verification stuff to be like,
yeah.
this is everything I've been featured in. And, you know, everyone has to start somewhere. So at the same time, like that stuff didn't just happen just because, like I was still working on getting where I am now and I was getting these things. So, you know, social is obviously going to be your number one platform. Like you have established such an amazing platform on LinkedIn, and that's so big because LinkedIn makes you a lot more credible as well. And I think too, even reaching out to some of these companies, you know, is really, really big, or like tagging yourself into it. Like there are tons of PR firms too that do pay on results if you want to get started and just try to like get yourself out there too. There's a lot of ways, but even, you know, writing an article and get linked like to nurse.org. I mean, nurse.org is probably the champion of backlinks. Like if you think of how much stuff they backlink on their website, that just boosts them on their SEO. And so any way you can get on that kind of stuff is big. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is all such great information, especially for those that are starting. And it like proves everything that I talk about all the time on LinkedIn, because nurses are like, Farrah's always popping on my feed talking about personal brand, create content, be visible. Yep. Because even if you're not ready to build a business, or you don't even want to build a business, maybe you want to start a nonprofit, or maybe you want to write a book, whatever it is, the more visible you are, right? And then when you build that personal brand, people will recognize and be like, oh my God, I know Jen, like I want to support her. And this is kind of how it starts. So I guess so before we wrap up, you know, any last words for, you know, nurses out there that are struggling with networking or personal brand, anything you want to share?
I mean, you don't know until you do it. It's always going to be scary. I think it's scary for every single person. I think people have this mindset that like every single TikTok like is just like easy for me, or like even just doing stuff like this. Like there are so many times I doubt myself, and that's not to say I'm not confident in what I'm doing. It's just natural. It's vulnerable, it's exposing, and you don't know until you do it. And then once you do it, you're going to suck in the beginning. That's normal. But then the more you do it, the more like natural everything comes, you know? Like think about when you first put yourself on camera. The first time I ever went live on Instagram Live, probably back in 2020, I think it was. I hit live and I turned purple and started shaking, and I acted like there was a connectivity issue, and I ended it because I was so scared. And like it's so crazy because I still laugh at that. And like I had at the time already like was doing sales and like had a community built, but it is scary. And I think overall, you just have to wake up one day and realize that you're going to do it, or just jump and take the risk. And no one is coming to save you. You just have to do it. You know what I mean? So there is no white horse, unfortunately. And so if you want to push through something, you're going to just have to like make the choice to do it and just do it. And it'll be scary, but that's fine.
And I love, you know, one last thing I also want to cover is I love the fact of like how transparent, real you are, how down to earth, and also how you are still the face of your company. Because, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of companies out there, you know, that have marketing teams and have other people who do stuff for them. But I always feel like if you're going to be the face of your business, it's going to probably be more successful, and people want to know about you. So, you know, that's why I tell these aspiring nurse entrepreneurs and nurse entrepreneurs that I work with, like, yeah, but can I just like get someone else to help me or do the stuff? I'm like, yeah, but you should really be out there telling your story because people want to see you, right? To build that trust. I'm so excited that you'll be speaking at the conference. So if you haven't got your tickets,
I can't wait.
Early bird tickets to come see Jennifer. I'll be dropping more speakers as we go. Please connect with her and tell them again where they can find you, or if they're a nursing student and they want to get your products.
Yeah, we are right now on recmed.org. We're going to be moving to RecMed Academy just because we launched a new gamified app on the Apple Store, MedHeads. And so we're kind of in that pivot right now of everything, but either way, it will all be announced. But yes, so we're on recmed.org, soon to be recmedacademy.com. And then we're on Instagram as Student Nurse Planner. We are on TikTok as Jen TikTok because I didn't really want to make just a RecMed TikTok. I also do identify RecMed as who I am in some weird way. But then, so I am on TikTok at Jen RecMed. And beyond that, like other social media, anything you type in RecMed, you'll probably be able to find us.
So connect with her, and I'll share all your links later on. So if they want to click on some stuff, they can, you know, get the things. And then if you have any last questions
Oh,
or
Marcia's
comments,
here. It's Marcia from TikTok. I love
you
it so
made
much. We're so excited to see you.
Yes, thank you for coming on. And if you're watching the replay too and you have any comments or questions, put them down. Also, please connect with me if you're not connected, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Nursing Dose with Farah, and make sure that we're connected. Send me any messages if you're interested in building a business, or if you need to pivot in your career. I'm your girl. And please connect with Jennifer. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And hopefully we'll do more of these things.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yes. Thanks,
All right, bye
Farah.
everyone. Thank you.